Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and in today's video, we're going to be taking a look at my brand new level 50 XL Buzzwole. Buzzwole is a bug and fighting type Pokemon with the moveset of Counter, Lunge, and Superpower. I tried it out in the Master League, and honestly, I ended up leaving very impressed. Buzzwole definitely does have its weaknesses, like going up against Giratina or a Flyer, but it can be a pretty unique core breaker and can put in a lot of work. So without further ado, let's hop into the matches and check out level 50 Buzzwole in action in the Master League. Hopping into the first match, leading Buzzwole into Zacian. Buzzwole does win the twos here, but it's still not the greatest matchup ever, so I'm going to save switch into my own Zacian, and my opponent responds with Dialga. If you take a look at my Zacian, you may notice something a little strange, and that's that my Zacian is actually not running close combat. The reason why is Buzzwole struggles against Flyers and against Giratina, so that way my Zacian has the ability to hit both of them for super effective damage. Second play rough, able to grab a shield from Dialga. Dialga is going to fire off the Iron Head. I do have the Wild Charge loaded, so if I survive this, which I barely do, I'm going to be able to fire off the Wild Charge. Wild Charge gets the final shield, and now I have shields down. In comes Buzzwole looking for the counter down. I believe they're just short of the Draco here. I let it go. It's the Draco. Buzzwole barely able to hang on, and I farm down with Dialga. We know they still have that Zacian alive in the back. Unfortunately, one Iron Head does not KO from this range, so I have to hope that they go for a close combat, and that way I'm going to be able to fire off a move and take them out. Unfortunately, they do bait with Play Rough. Here, I try and go for the CMP type, but they go for an extra Snarl, and that is a massive mistake on my part, because now they are going to be able to reach back-to-back close combats. The first one grabs my final shield, and they're able to reach one more. I should barely live this, but they still have an entire Pokemon left in the back, and it's Excadrill. I'm not able to reach the Draco Meteor. In comes Buzzwole on 1 HP, able to reach the Superpower. Superpower takes down the Excadrill, and that is a good game. Hopping into the next match, picking up another rough lead, Buzzwole into Mewtwo. I do need to immediately save switch into my Zacian here, and my opponent is going to respond with a Swampert. Swampert, definitely not a Pokemon you see every day in the Master League. Zacian should be able to put in work here. Play Rough does grab a shield, and Swampert is going to fire off a move. They have a ton of energy here. They fire off the Hydro Cannon. Zacian able to tank that, no problem. Farming up quite a bit, and they're going to be firing off another move. If it's a Hydro, it's not going to be enough to take me out, which it is, and I'm going to be able to fire off the Play Rough. This will be grabbing a shield, and then I think if they try and farm me down, I can reach a last-second Wild Charge here. Opponent does not want to let that happen, and they're going to fire off a Hydro. Hydro is going to take me out. I'm going to bring in Buzzwole and commit to the farm down. I will have to tank a Hydro Cannon, but that's much more preferable than tanking a Psystrike. So I'm going to let that go. A little bit of lag, and I'm able to farm down. Back in comes the Mewtwo. Buzzwole able to reach the Lunge. This is going to be hitting the Mewtwo for super effective damage. Lunge goes unshielded, and I bring in Dialga. And in the back, they have Excadrill, and this is not great. Excadrill overfarms quite a bit, and I win CMP. Oh my goodness, that's massive. Draco Meteor gets the final shield, and with shields down, Buzzwole can win me this game. So I am going to no shield. I am putting my entire faith in Buzzwole here. They undercharge, they're able to get a very nice farm down, but I should be able to live a Rock Slide from here. The thing about Buzzwole has a nice amount of bulk in the Master League. I tank that Rock Slide, no problem, and I'm just going to go for the counter down. I shield up the second Rock Slide, going for the counter down. In comes Mewtwo, and Mewtwo has a move loaded, but Mewtwo does not have the back-to-back, meaning I will be able to fire off my Lunge. From this range, Lunge will be taking out the Mewtwo. All that's left is the 1 HP Excadrill, and Buzzwole clutches a big win. Hopping into the next match, leading Buzzwole into Mewtwo. The bad leads continue. We're going to save switch into our Zacian. This Mewtwo is actually staying in. I'm going to overfarm quite a bit here and then fire off the Play Rough. Play Rough would do a ton of damage to the Mewtwo. Mewtwo is going to respect it with a shield. Mewtwo does have back-to-back moves loaded. I'm going to let the first one through because I do survive one Psystrike. They're going to be constantly over-farming in this matchup. They try and go for a catch as they bring in Melmetal. Situations like this, I do wish that I had close combat. I'm going to fire off the Wild Charge, farm up one extra to force them to throw energy. They did not want to take another move, but this is honestly preferable for me because now I get a massive farm with Buzzwole. Buzzwole should be able to counter down before they're able to reach the back-to-back Rock Slides. They go for the first. I tank that no problem, and I'm able to counter down. That's massive. I leave with so much energy. Back in comes the Mewtwo. I'm going to fire off the Lunge. Lunge gets the shield from the Mewtwo. Mewtwo is going to be firing back with the Psystrike. I'm going to shield this up. They're very close to another move, so I switch into Dialga, and I end up catching that Psystrike. That is massive. Psystrike not going to be doing a whole lot of damage. In the back, they have their own Dialga. I'm just going straight for the Draco Meteor, and I'm able to get there, winning the CMP tie. Draco Meteor will easily take down my opponent, and they bring in their own Mewtwo. They're going to massively overfarm and then fire off a move, but I'm going to let this go. At this point, I'm just going to trust in my Buzzwole to win me this game. Buzzwole able to get to the Lunge, and look at that. Buzzwole 3 for 3, closing game strong, and picking up another win. Hopping into the next match, leading Buzzwole into Giratina Origin. 4 for 4 bad leads. Let's see if we can make it 4 wins. We immediately save switch into our Zacian. This Giratina is staying in, and they're going to fire off a move. I will respect the potential Shadow Ball, as it would do a lot of damage, and I'm going to fire back with the Play Rough. Play Rough will hit for massive damage on this Giratina. Giratina is going to commit the shield. It's going to be a race, but Giratina able to outpace me by a turn. And this Shadow Ball would get me very low, so I will commit my final shield, and then they're going to bring in Sylveon, and this has me worried that it could be Giratina Double Fairy. This is one tricky thing about running Buzzwole in the Master League, is if you run into a team like Giratina Double Fairy, your Buzzwole just has nowhere to go. They have 3 counters for it, so if you run into a lot of these teams, this is a situation where Buzzwole could struggle quite a bit. I'm going to bring in the Buzzwole basically just to use it as a damage sponge and hope that Giratina can win me this game. Buzzwole able to tank a Moonblast. The bulk of Buzzwole is unreal. I'm going to be able to reach an Iron Head. I just have to hope that it's not Double Fairy in the back. We're able to take down the Sylveon. In the back, it's Zacian, and I concede the match. Hopping into the next match, leading Buzzwole into Dialga, and we finally win a lead. Let's go. Buzzwole has a great matchup here. I'm going to overfarm and fire off a move just before they're able to get to one. They try and catch the superpower as they save switch into their Giratina Origin, but I have a phenomenal response bringing in my own Dialga. I'm able to tank a Shadow Ball. I'm going to farm up and then fire off the Iron Head just before they're able to reach Shadow Ball number 2. This will KO from this health range, and they decide to let it go, choosing instead to get farm on their own Dialga. Their Dialga does have quite a bit of energy, but honestly, I'm just going to go for the one shield counter down with Buzzwole, because these counters absolutely shred Dialga. Dialga trying to get to another move, not on Buzzwole's watch, and in the back, they have Zacian, and watch how Buzzwole is about to absolutely bully this Zacian. First off, I get a shield. They weren't familiar with Buzzwole's moveset. I am now double debuffing it, and you know what? Just for fun, let's throw a third debuff onto this Zacian. So now Zacian is going to be doing a fraction of the damage as it typically would. They're going to be firing off a move. Play Rough, even at -3, will KO Buzzwole. And I'm going to bring in my own Zacian and just wait for them to throw a move, just so they can see how little damage this is going to do. They go for the Play Rough. That does basically nothing. And that is a good game. Hopping into the next match, leading Buzzwole into Yveltal. This is a very nice lead for Buzzwole, so long as the Yveltal is not running Hurricane. They're staying in, and so will I. I'm going to farm up and fire off a Lunge. The neutral counters and Lunge damage is really going to start to add up. They let the Lunge through, and they fire off a move. This could be a Hurricane. I'm going to respect it, and they are running Hurricane. That's not good. I'm going to farm up and fire off a move just before they get to the next one. But here, I second guess myself. It's only a Dark Pulse, but I second guess myself. I shield, and it's a Dark Pulse, and that's a massive mistake, as I am now down 2 shields. They bring in Giratina, I bank my energy, save switch into Zacian, and in the back, they have Dialga. No close combat is a bit awkward here. I'm going to fire off the Play Rough. 2 Play Roughs typically are enough to grab a shield, so I'm able to land the first, and I'm just going to keep farming up as they fire off the Iron Head. Iron Head is not going to be enough to KO here. It will get me very low. I'm going to farm up and then reach the back-to-back wild charges. First one should hopefully grab the shield, and the second one will be getting that Dialga quite low, but the Dragon Breath ends up KOing me. Back in comes Buzzwole. Buzzwole has back-to-back moves loaded, firing off the Superpower. Superpower takes out Dialga, and now Giratina is their final Pokemon, and they have no way of resetting the lunge debuff. I lower their attack, and I bring in Dialga, and suddenly Shadow Ball is not doing as much damage as it typically would. Dialga able to tank that, no problem. Farming up, and I'm going to fire off the Iron Head. Iron Head will be grabbing a shield from the Giratina. Giratina in a bit of a tough spot here. Giratina overfarms as much as they can, and they're going to fire off a move. But can a Shadow Ball even KO from here? It cannot, and that is a good game. Hopping into the final match, switching Buzzwole into Giratina Origin. Yet another awful lead. I'm going to save switch into my Zacian. Giratina farms up some energy, and they bring in Ho-Oh. My opponent thinking that if I'm switching into Zacian, I must have Play Rough and Close Combat, but I am running Wild Charge. And here, I should be able to grab both shields from the Ho-Oh. I'm going to shield once, and then I can throw one Snarl, fire off a Wild Charge, and then throw one more Snarl, and be at another Wild Charge. So I'm going to be able to either win Switch advantage, or grab shield advantage here. Wild Charge does get the shield, and at this point, I'm just going to let it go, and I'm going to trust in Dialga to win me this game, because Dialga with the shield advantage is incredibly deadly. Dialga able to farm down. Now we have an energy lead and a shield advantage. Do they bring in the Giratina, or do they bring in the final Mon? They bring in the final Mon, and it's Dialga, and I'm in a very good spot here. I'm going to be able to outpace and go for the Draco Meteor. Draco Meteor is going to be one-shotting my opponent's Dialga. Aggressive switch to reset the debuff as I bring in Buzzwole. Buzzwole does not have a good matchup against Giratina. Everything is resisted, but this is their final Pokemon, and you know what that means. I am going to debuff spam this Giratina until it basically can't do damage anymore. They're going for an incredibly aggressive farm down, but all this is going to allow me to do is just debuff them more and more and more. That's 2 stages debuff. Surely they can farm down before I get to a third. They cannot, and I'm able to reach a third lunge. And now, this Giratina just cannot do any damage whatsoever. I let it through. Nothing's taking me out from here. Shadow Ball does absolutely no damage. And that is a good game. All in all, I was very impressed with XL Buzzwole in the Master League. First off, it has a great moveset, and its bulk is honestly really nice. The fact that it tanks a Draco Meteor from Dialga is pretty impressive. The one thing I will say, its typing can be a bit awkward when going up against stuff like Giratina, Fairies, or Flyers, but so long as you have adequate coverage against those in the back, Buzzwole honestly feels like a very solid meta contender for the Master League. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you're enjoying the content, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And a special thank you, as always, to our members here on YouTube. The support you guys provide is absolutely incredible. So thank you guys oh so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.